The door sealed behind them with a soft hiss. Taejin spun around and pressed against the metal surface, but it would not open. His scanner showed thick barriers dropping into place all around the facility. "We're trapped," he said, clicking his mandibles nervously. "Not trapped," the voice corrected gently. "Protected. The awakening has begun, and there are those in the galaxy who would not want you to learn the truth." Dr. Yunmi's energy field flickered with worry. What awakening? What truth? The screens around them changed again. Now they showed space, but not empty space. Ships moved between the stars. Ships that looked nothing like Vorak crystal vessels or Nethrim energy cruisers or Threx bioships. These ships were sleek and dark, almost invisible against the black of space. "For 3 centuries we have been watching," the voice explained. "Learning, preparing. Your species believed humans were gone, but we were closer than you ever imagined." "Captain," Daeho studied the images carefully. "Those ships, they're in Vorak space, near our crystal mines on Keth 7. "Yes." "And here?" New images appeared. Ships near Nethrim energy stations. Ships watching Threx colony worlds. Ships everywhere, hidden in plain sight. "We have been your silent neighbors for 300 years. The screens went dark for a moment. When they lit up again, they showed something different. A human face appeared, but it flickered and shimmered like it was made of light. She was young-looking with kind eyes and dark hair pulled back simply. "I am Dr. So Young," the woman said. "I died in the year 2531, 3 years before the solar flare event, but part of me lives on in these systems." Hyunmi floated closer to the screen. "That's impossible. Consciousness cannot be stored in machines." "Your species cannot do it," So Young replied with a small smile. "But humans learned how just before the end. We took our best minds, our greatest thinkers, our wisest leaders, and we preserved them in quantum storage. Not just their knowledge, but their thoughts, their dreams, their souls." More faces appeared on other screens. Men and women of all ages, all flickering with that same strange light. They smiled and nodded at the 3 visitors. "Meet the Council of the Preserved," So Young continued. "We are the ones who have been guiding the plan for 300 years. We are the ones who have been protecting your species from what you do not see." Daeho's crystal skin turned a deeper blue, a sign of confusion among his people. "Protecting us from what?" "From yourselves, for one thing," said a new voice. An older human man appeared on another screen. "I am Chief Engineer Wu Jin. I was in charge of the great ships when they left Earth. Do you know how many wars your 3 species almost fought in the past 3 centuries? "Wars?" Taejin asked. "There have been no major conflicts since the Treaty of Harmony." Wu Jin laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "The Treaty of Harmony exists because we made it exist. Every time tensions rose between your peoples, strange things happened. Key military leaders would change their minds. Important resources would be discovered at just the right time. Peace negotiations would succeed when they should have failed." The screens showed historical events that all 3 visitors recognized. The border crisis of 2687, when Vorak and Threx forces faced each other across a disputed system. The energy wars of 2743, when Nethrim and Vorak nearly fought over a dying star. The colony disputes of 2801, when all 3 species claimed the same worlds. "In each case," So Young said, "human agents worked behind the scenes. We prevented wars that would have weakened the galaxy. We needed your species strong for what was coming." "Human agents?" Yunmi asked. "But humans are extinct. Are we?" Wu Jin asked. Another screen lit up, showing the inside of a Vorak crystal ship. The crew worked at their stations, unaware they were being watched. "Look closely at their navigation computer." Daeho leaned forward. The navigation system looked normal, but there was something strange about the data flow, patterns that didn't belong, code that had been quietly added to the original programming. "Your ships have been guided by human systems for decades," Wu Jin explained. "Not controlled, just helped. A course correction here, a fuel efficiency improvement there. You thought your technology was advancing naturally." Taejin's weapon was still in his hand, but he looked confused about whether to use it. "This is an invasion. You've taken over our systems, or Have we? So Young asked gently. Have any of your people been harmed? Have your freedoms been taken away? Have your cultures been changed? The three visitors looked at each other. They had to admit that their peoples were healthier and more prosperous than ever before. Crime was down. Disease was almost gone. Even their oldest conflicts seemed to be healing. We enhanced your medical systems, said another human face on the screens. We improved your agricultural techniques. We helped your scientists make discoveries they were ready to make. We did not conquer you. We helped you grow. But why? Deho asked. Why help us? Why hide? The screens went black again. When they lit up, they showed something that made all three visitors step back in fear. It was space, but wrong somehow. Stars were going dark. Entire systems were becoming cold and empty. And moving through the darkness was something huge and alive and hungry. This is why, So Young said, her voice now serious and sad. They are called the Devourers. They have been moving across the universe for millions of years, consuming every advanced civilization they find. They destroy everything in their path and leave only emptiness behind. The images showed world after world stripped of life. Beautiful. Cities turned to ash. Green planets becoming balls of dead rock. Species that had built great civilizations reduced to nothing but memories in abandoned ruins. They move slowly, Wu Jin said. It takes them centuries to cross from one galaxy to another, but they always come. And when they arrive, they consume everything. How do you know this? Tae-jin asked. Because they destroyed our home galaxy. Long ago, So Young replied. We are not originally from this galaxy. We came here as refugees fleeing the Devourers. We found this young galaxy with its 3 promising species, and we made a choice. The screen showed ancient Earth, but it was different, more advanced. Cities that reached into the clouds, ships that could cross between stars, technology that seemed almost magical. This was our first civilization, So Young explained. But the Devourers found us. They destroyed our homeworld and most of our colonies. Only a few ships escaped, carrying the survivors to this galaxy. When we arrived, here thousands of years ago, we found the Vorak just beginning to work with crystal technology. The Nethrim were learning to manipulate energy. The Threks were developing their hive mind connections. You were all so young, so full of potential. So you decided to protect us, Yunmi said quietly. We decided to prepare you, Wu Jin corrected. The Devourers would follow eventually. They always do. But this time we would be ready for them. The screens showed human settlements being built throughout the galaxy. Not on the surfaces of worlds where they could be seen, but hidden in asteroids, in the space between planets, in the dark areas between stars. We spread throughout the galaxy over thousands of years. We watched your species grow. We helped when we could, but always carefully, always secretly. We could not let the Devourers know we were here. And then the solar flare event, Deho said, understanding beginning to dawn. We detected the first Devourer scouts entering the galaxy in 2530, So Young said. We had to disappear completely, make them think this galaxy had no advanced human presence. So we created the solar flare event. We made it look like humanity had failed and died out. But you survived, Yunmi said, in a way. So Young's image flickered. Our bodies died, but our minds live on in quantum storage. Our ships still sail between the stars, crewed by artificial intelligence and maintained by automated systems. We became something new, something the Devourers have never faced before. The screen showed the present day, ships powering up across the galaxy, space stations revealing themselves, weapon systems coming online, all human technology, all hidden for centuries, all waiting for this moment. The scouts have been studying the galaxy for 300 years, Wu Jin said. They have decided that your 3 species are ready for consumption. The main Devourer fleet is now entering the galaxy's edge. Warning signals began flashing throughout the facility. The sound of alarms filled the air, and from somewhere far above they could hear the sound of engines. Ships landing, doors opening, footsteps in the corridors. It seems your peoples have found you, So Young said with concern. They detected the awakening signals. They will have many questions. More than questions, Tae-jin said grimly. My commanders will consider this an act of war. Then we must hope they are wise enough to listen, So Young replied, because the real war is coming, whether they are ready or not. The footsteps in the corridors were getting closer. Soon the secret would be out. The galaxy would know that humanity had never died, that they had been living in the shadows, watching and preparing. Some would see it as salvation, others would see it as the greatest deception in history. But ready or not, the time for secrets was over. The devourers were coming, and the galaxy would have to face them together or fall apart completely. The shuttle dropped through Earth's dead atmosphere like a stone falling into a grave. Captain Daeho watched the brown wasteland grow larger through the window. His crystal skin sparkled in the dim light as he studied the ruins below. Still, hard to believe they lived here, said Dr. Yeon-mi. Her gaseous form shifted colors from blue to purple as she spoke. The Nethram scientist floated beside his chair, her energy field crackling with curiosity. Commander Tae-jin clicked his mandibles. Together, the Threx officer's insect eyes studied the data on his screen. Humans were weak, small. They died too easily. Daeho said nothing. He had studied many dead races, but humans were different somehow. Most extinct species left behind great monuments or advanced technology. Humans left behind simple buildings, basic machines, and questions that had no answers. The shuttle landed in what used to be Seoul. Daeho stepped onto the cracked ground and looked around. Broken towers reached toward the sky like fingers of bone. Rusted vehicles lined the streets. Everything was covered in 300 years of dust and silence. Where do we start? Asked Eun-mi. Tae-jin consulted his scanner. The human data centers should be in the city center. We can catalog their information systems there. They walked through the empty streets. Their boots crunched on broken glass and metal. The wind whistled through the ruins, making sounds like voices calling from far away. Daeho felt something strange as they moved deeper into the city. It was like being watched. But that was impossible. Nothing lived here anymore. The human buildings were so simple compared to Vorak crystal structures or Nethram energy spires, just boxes made of concrete and steel. But there was something about them that made Daeho think. These beings had built their homes to last. Even after centuries, the buildings still stood. Look at this, said Eun-mi. She pointed to writing on a wall. The human letters were faded but still visible. They wrote messages to each other on their buildings. Tae-jin scanned the writing. It says, Min-ho loves Soo-jin forever. A mating declaration. How primitive. But Daeho touched the wall gently. The crystal captain had studied hundreds of dead worlds. Most species left records of their wars, their conquests, their great achievements. But humans wrote about love on their walls. They made pictures of their young ones. They built small gardens in tiny spaces between their buildings. They reached the center of the city as the pale sun began to set. The human data center was a large building made of glass and metal. Most of the glass was broken now, but the structure was still solid. Inside, they found rows of primitive computers. Tae-jin plugged his scanner into the old systems, but most of the data was corrupted or lost. There's not much here, the Threx commander said. Basic mathematics, simple science, some art files, nothing remarkable. Daeho walked around the room studying everything. He noticed something the others had missed. In the floor there were marks, scratches that formed a pattern. When he traced the pattern with his crystal finger, a section of the floor began to glow. That's impossible, said Eun-mi. There's no power to this building, we checked. The glowing grew brighter. A panel in the floor slid open, revealing stairs that went down into darkness. Cool air flowed up from below, carrying a strange smell. It was clean air, fresh air. Air that had been filtered and recycled. Something is still working down there, whispered Daeho. Tae-jin raised his weapon. This could be dangerous. We should call for backup. But Eun-mi was already floating toward the stairs. This is the greatest discovery in centuries. We can't... Wait. They descended into the underground facility. The stairs were made of some material that Daeho didn't recognize. It looked like metal, but felt warm under his feet. Emergency lights flickered on as they moved deeper, casting long shadows. On the walls, the facility was huge. Corridors stretched in all directions, disappearing into darkness. Everything was clean and well-maintained, as if someone had just left moments before. Their footsteps echoed in the silence. "The air is perfectly breathable," said Unmi, checking her instruments. "Temperature is controlled, humidity is optimal. Something is maintaining this place." They found the main chamber at the center of the complex. It was a vast room filled with machines that hummed softly in the darkness. Screens lined the walls, showing star maps and data streams that moved too fast to read. In the center of the room was a control console that looked nothing like the simple human technology they had found above. Daeho approached the console carefully. When he touched it, the entire room came to life. Lights blazed on. Machines began to work. The screens filled with information in dozens of languages, including the 3 they knew. A voice spoke from hidden speakers. It was calm and human, speaking in perfect Vorak. "Welcome, Captain Daeho. We have been waiting for you." The crystal captain stepped back in shock. "Who are you? How do you know my name?" "I am the guardian of this facility. I have been watching your expedition since you entered Earth's atmosphere. Please do not be afraid. You and your companions are in no danger." Unmi floated closer to the console. "This is impossible. Humans have been extinct for 300 years. Extinct?" The voice seemed amused. "That is what you were meant to believe. Please sit. There is much you need to understand, and very little time to explain." Chairs rose from the floor, perfectly, designed for each of their body types. Reluctantly they sat. The screens around them began to show images. Earth as it used to be, green and blue and alive. Human cities full of people, families laughing together, children playing in parks. "Your species have classified humans as a failed civilization," the voice continued. "Weak, primitive, unable to adapt. But you are wrong. Humans did not fail. They chose a different path." The images changed. Now they showed humans working together on massive projects, ships being built in space, scientists studying the stars, children learning in schools that taught them about other worlds, other species. "We knew we were not alone," said the voice. "We studied your civilizations from afar. We learned your languages, your cultures, your ways of thinking, and we realized something that you did not." "What?" asked Daeho. "A great threat was coming. Something that hunts advanced civilizations across the galaxy. Something that would destroy everything in its path. We had to prepare." The screens showed star maps with dark areas spreading like infection. Worlds that had once been alive now sat cold and empty. Entire systems wiped clean of life. "The solar flare event was not an accident," the voice said quietly. "It was our sacrifice. We made the galaxy believe we were dead so that we could work in secret, so that we could prepare for what was coming." Taejin stood up quickly, his weapon ready. "You're lying. This is some kind of trick." "I understand your disbelief, Commander, but look around you. This facility has been operating for 300 years. Someone had to maintain it. Someone had to keep it running. Someone had to watch over the galaxy and wait for the right moment." The console began to transmit. Signal after signal flowed out into space, reaching toward the stars, and from the darkness between worlds answers began to come back. Hundreds of signals, thousands, all responding to the call. "You have awakened something that has been sleeping," the voice said. "And now, the real work begins." Outside, in the cold space around Earth, lights began to appear. Ships that had been hidden for centuries powered up their engines. Stations that looked like asteroids revealed their true nature. And across the galaxy, other signals began to answer. The dead were not dead. They had been waiting. The 3 visitors looked at each other with growing fear and wonder. They had come to study the remains of a failed species. Instead, they had found something that would change everything they thought they knew about their galaxy. The voice spoke again, softer now, almost sad. "The hardest part is over. The secret is revealed. Now comes the difficult task of preparing your people for what they must face, together. In the silence that followed, they could hear the sound of awakening. Across Earth, across the galaxy, humanity was returning from the shadows. The Watchers had become the watched, and nothing would ever be the same again. The footsteps stopped outside the main chamber. Heavy breathing echoed through the corridors as the rescue teams prepared to break through the sealed doors. Captain Deho could hear familiar voices speaking in Vorak crystal song, the musical language of his people. They brought cutting tools, he said, listening to the sounds from above. They'll be through the barriers in minutes. Dr. So Young's image flickered on the screen. This is not how we wanted the revelation to happen. But perhaps it is better this way. Truth cannot hide forever. Commander Taejin moved toward the sealed entrance, his weapon ready. My people will think this is an attack. They will respond with force. Then you must convince them otherwise, said Chief Engineer Wu Jin. You three are now the bridge between our species and yours. The future of the galaxy depends on how this first meeting goes. The cutting sounds grew louder. Sparks began to fly from the sealed door as powerful tools worked to break through the metal. Dr. Yunmi floated nervously between the others, her gaseous form shifting colors rapidly. What do we tell them? She asked. That their entire history has been a lie? That humans have been controlling their technology for centuries? Not controlling, So Young corrected. Guiding, helping, protecting. There is a difference. The door exploded inward with a burst of crystal energy. Vorak soldiers poured into the chamber, their translucent bodies glowing with combat readiness. Behind them came Nethrim energy beings crackling with power, and Threx warriors with their weapons raised. Admiral Boram of the Vorak fleet stepped through the smoke. Her crystal form was larger and more complex than Deho's, showing her high rank and age. Captain Deho, report. Are you under attack? Deho looked at his superior officer, then at the screens showing the human faces. No, Admiral, but we have made a discovery that will change everything. We detected massive energy signatures coming from this facility, Boram said. Our sensors show technology that should not exist. Explain. Before Deho could answer, the screens around them lit up with thousands of human faces. Men and women of all ages looked out at the assembled soldiers. The humans spoke in perfect Vorak crystal song, Nethrim energy harmony, and Threx hive speech all at the same time. Welcome, Admiral Boram, General Kethvar. High Mind, Neth Solon. We have been waiting to meet you for a very long time, the alien. Soldiers raised their weapons, but their leaders held up their hands for calm. Admiral Boram studied the screens carefully. You are human, but humans are extinct. We are what humans became, So Young replied. When faced with extinction, we chose evolution instead. We uploaded our consciousness into quantum storage systems and spread across the galaxy in hidden ships and stations. General Kethvar of the Nethrim forces pulsed with angry red energy. This is impossible. We would have detected such technology. You did detect it, Wu Jin said with a sad smile. But you thought it was yours. Look at your energy collection systems, General. The efficiency improvements you've achieved over the past century. The new harmonic frequencies that increased power output by 30%. Those were human innovations, quietly added to your existing technology. High Mind Neth Solon of the O. Threx clicked his mandibles in distress. You contaminated our systems. This is an act of war. Is it war to cure diseases? Asked another human voice. To improve crop yields, to prevent conflicts before they start? We have been your invisible partners for 3 centuries. We helped your species grow stronger because we needed you to be strong. Needed us for what? Admiral Boram demanded. The screens changed, showing the edge of the galaxy. Something massive was moving through the darkness between stars. Ships so large they dwarfed planets. Creatures that seemed to be part machine, part living thing, all hunger and destruction. For this, So Young said simply, the Devourers have found our galaxy. They are already here. The images showed Devourer scout ships moving between systems, studying the 3 alien civilizations. The scouts looked like giant organic vessels covered in eyes and teeth and grasping tentacles. They moved through space like predators hunting prey. The main fleet is 3 months behind the scouts, Wu Jin explained. When they arrive, they will consume everything. Every world, every station, every ship. They will drain the life from entire stars and leave only empty space behind. General, Kethvar's energy form turned pale blue with fear. How do you know this? Because they did it to us before, So Young replied. Our original galaxy was consumed 2,000 years ago. We barely escaped with a few ships and the stored consciousness of our greatest minds. The screen showed the woe, destruction of the human home galaxy. Billions of stars going dark as the devourers consumed everything in their path. Beautiful worlds turned to ash. Advanced civilizations reduced to nothing. We came to this galaxy as refugees, So Young continued. We found 3 young species with great potential. We could have conquered you easily, but instead we chose to nurture you, to help you grow into the partners we would need to face this threat. High-Mind Neth Solon studied the images with his compound eyes. You say these devourers consumed your entire galaxy. How can we fight something so powerful? Because this time we are prepared, said a new voice. The screen showed an older human man with gray hair and tired eyes. I am Fleet Admiral Hyunwoo. I have been commanding the hidden human fleet for the past century. More screens lit up showing ships throughout the galaxy. Not hundreds, but thousands. Vessels that had been disguised as asteroids, space debris, or abandoned hulks suddenly revealed their true nature. They were sleek and powerful, unlike any ships the 3 species had ever seen. We have been building and preparing for 300 years, Hyunwoo continued. But we cannot win this fight alone. We need your crystal technology, Vorak. We need your energy manipulation, Nethram. We need your coordination abilities, Threx. Dr. Youngsu appeared on another screen. We have learned from studying your species. Vorak crystal matrices can create shields strong enough to protect entire worlds. Nethram energy focusing can power weapons capable of piercing devourer armor. Threx hive mind networks can coordinate fleets across vast distances. But only if we work together, So Young added. Separately we will all be consumed. Together we might have a chance. Admiral Boram looked around at her fellow commanders. They spoke in hushed tones in their various languages, trying to understand what they had learned. You ask us to trust you, Boram said finally. But you have deceived us for centuries. How do we know this is not another deception? Because, said Captain Nari, appearing on a new screen, we are about to show you something that no species has ever seen before. The facility around them began to change. The walls became transparent, revealing the true size of the underground complex. It stretched for kilometers in every direction, filled with technology beyond anything the 3 species had imagined. This is just one facility on one world, Nari explained. We have built similar installations throughout the galaxy, hidden cities and asteroid belts, weapons platforms disguised as space junk, fleets waiting in the dark between stars. The screens showed the scope of human preparation. Entire worlds that appeared empty but were actually massive military bases, nebulae that hid construction yards building ships and weapons. The dark matter between galaxies turned out to be hiding human technology. We gave up our physical forms to become something new, So Young said. We spread ourselves across the galaxy not to conquer, but to protect. We became the Watchers, the Guardians, the secret friends you never knew you had. And now? General Kethvar asked. Now we face the greatest test in galactic history, Admiral Hyunwoo replied. The Devourers are 3 months away. We can meet them in battle or we can meet them as prey. The choice is yours. The alien commanders looked at each other. Centuries of independence and pride warred with the growing understanding of what they faced. The evidence was overwhelming. The threat was real. The humans had sacrificed everything to prepare for this moment. High-Mind Neth Solon was the first to speak. The Threx will consider your proposal. But there will be conditions. Our sovereignty must be respected. Of course, So Young agreed. We are not asking you to surrender your independence. We are asking you to join us as equals in this fight. Admiral Boram nodded slowly. The Vorak Council will debate this matter, but... She paused, looking at the screens showing the approaching devourers. Time appears to be short. Very short, Wu Jin confirmed. We suggest your leaders meet as soon as possible. There is much to plan and very little time to do it. As the alien forces prepared to leave, Dr. Eunmi floated close to one of the screens. The humans we studied in our history books, were they real? So Young smiled sadly. They were our ancestors, our physical forms, our first attempt at civilization. We loved them deeply, and when they died, we carried their memories with us into this new existence. And if we survive this war, then perhaps humans can have physical forms again someday. Perhaps we can walk on worlds under open skies instead of living only in machines and energy patterns. Perhaps we can be more than just guardians in the, dark. The facility began to shut down as the alien forces departed. The screens went dark one by one. But the message had been delivered, and the secret was finally out. Above them, across the galaxy, the awakening continued. The Great Assembly had never seen anything like this before. Representatives from all three major species filled the massive chamber on Neutral Station 7, their voices creating a chaos of crystal song, energy harmony, and hive speech. Above them, holographic displays showed the same terrifying images over and over. The Devourer fleet approaching the galaxy's edge, Admiral Boram stood at the center of the circular chamber, her crystal form catching the light from a dozen different angles. Order, she called in the common language. We must have order. Slowly, the noise died down. 300 leaders from across the galaxy turned their attention to the screens where human faces waited patiently. Dr. So Young, Chief Engineer. Wu Jin, Fleet Admiral Hyun Woo, and dozens of other preserved human minds looked out at the assembly. General In Ho appeared on the main screen. His face was weathered and scarred, showing the marks of many battles. Distinguished delegates, I am General In Ho, Strategic Commander of Human Military Forces. I am here to tell you the truth about the threat we face. High Mind Velteran of the Outer Threx colonies clicked his mandibles angrily. You speak of truth, but you have lied to us for centuries. How can we trust anything you say? Because the alternative is extinction, In Ho replied simply. And because I am about to show you something that will prove everything we have told you. The displays changed, showing deep space at the galaxy's edge. At first, there was only darkness and distant stars. Then the sensors adjusted and something impossible became visible. Ships. Thousands of them. Millions of them. A fleet so vast it blocked out entire star fields. The Devourer Armada, In Ho said quietly. They began entering our galaxy 2 weeks ago. Each ship is several kilometers long. They are part machine, part living creature, and completely without mercy. The images zoomed in on individual ships. They were ugly things, covered in organic growths that pulsed like beating hearts. Tendrils reached out from their hulls, ending in mouths full of terrible teeth. Eyes the size of small moons watched the galaxy with hungry intelligence. Dr. Acha appeared on another screen. I have studied the Devourers for 2 centuries. I was part of the original research team that analyzed the destruction of our home. Galaxy. Let me explain what these creatures truly are. The display showed a single Devourer ship approaching a populated world. As they watched, the ship extended massive feeding tubes toward the planet's surface. The tubes burrowed deep into the ground and the planet began to change. Green continents turned brown, then black. Oceans dried up. The atmosphere thinned and disappeared. In just hours, a living world became a dead rock. They consume everything, Acha explained. Not just the life on worlds, but the worlds themselves. They drink the energy from stars until they collapse. They break down matter at the atomic level and convert it into more ships, more weapons, more devourers. Nethrim Coordinator. Plas Ninth pulsed with fearful purple energy. How many galaxies have they consumed? We don't know for certain, Acha admitted. At least 12 that we can confirm. Possibly many more. They have been doing this for millions of years. The display showed a map of known space. Galaxy after galaxy was marked in red, consumed, empty, lifeless. The Devourer's path of destruction stretched across the visible universe like a plague spreading through a healthy body. But why? Asked Vorak Counselor Jeth 9. What purpose does such destruction serve? Captain Dongmin's image flickered onto a screen. His face was young, but his eyes were old and tired. We believe they are fleeing from something. Our deep space scouts have found evidence that the Devourer's original home was destroyed by an even greater threat. They became nomads, consuming other civilizations to survive. They are like a disease, So Young added. They cannot create, only consume. They cannot build, only destroy. They have forgotten how to live without feeding on others. The chamber erupted in frightened conversations. Species that had never agreed on anything suddenly found common ground in their terror. The scale of the threat was beyond anything they had imagined. General Inho raised his hand for silence. There is more you need to know. The solar flare, event that supposedly destroyed humanity, it was not an accident. It was not even our own doing. The screen showed Earth as it was 3 centuries ago, a beautiful blue world with gleaming cities and green forests. Ships moved between Earth and its colonies, carrying people and goods across human space. In 2534, a small group of Devourer scouts found our civilization, Inho continued. They studied us for months, preparing for the main fleet's arrival, but we detected them first. The images showed human scientists discovering the alien scouts, emergency meetings in government buildings, military leaders planning desperate strategies, families saying goodbye to each other. We had perhaps a year before the main fleet arrived, Inho said. Not enough time to build weapons to fight them. Not enough time to evacuate our worlds, but enough time to disappear. The solar flare event was artificially created, Dr. Youngsu explained. We used our most powerful energy weapons to trigger a massive solar eruption that would sterilize our worlds. To the Devourer scouts, it looked like a natural disaster that destroyed our civilization. The display showed the terrible moment when the solar flare reached Earth. Cities burning, oceans boiling, billions of people dying in seconds, but also ships escaping into deep space, carrying the uploaded minds of humanity's greatest leaders and thinkers. We sacrificed our physical forms to save our consciousness, So Young said sadly. We let our worlds burn to protect the secret of our survival, and we watched as the Devourer scouts reported back to their main fleet that this galaxy held only primitive species not worth consuming yet. Yet? Admiral Boram asked. The Devourers prefer to let civilizations grow before harvesting them, HFY explained, like farmers waiting for crops to ripen. They calculated that your 3 species would reach optimal development levels in approximately 300 years. Now, Dongmin said grimly. The chamber fell silent as the full scope of the deception became clear. Humanity had not failed and died out. They had chosen the most terrible sacrifice imaginable to buy the galaxy time to prepare. High Mind Neth Solon spoke slowly. You destroyed your own civilization to save ours. We destroyed our physical civilization, Wu Jin corrected. But we preserved what mattered most: our knowledge, our wisdom, our determination to protect life in the universe. The screen showed the 3 centuries of human activity in the shadows, bases built in asteroids, ships disguised as space debris, technology quietly added to alien systems to make them stronger, more efficient, more capable. Every improvement to your crystal matrices, Inho said to the Vorak. Every enhancement to your energy collection systems, he said to the Nethrim. Every upgrade to your hive communication networks, he said to the Threx. All of it was preparation for this moment. You turned us into weapons without our knowledge, accused General Kethvar. We turned you into partners, So Young replied. Weapons are tools of destruction. Partners are allies who choose to fight together. The choice is still yours. Admiral. Hyunwoo's image appeared on the largest screen. The Devourer main fleet will reach inhabited systems in 6 weeks. We have prepared as much as we can in the time we had. But we cannot win this fight alone. The display showed human battle plans, fleets positioned throughout the galaxy, weapon systems hidden in asteroids and space stations, shield generators disguised as mining equipment. The scope of the preparation was staggering. Your crystal technology can create barriers strong enough to protect entire star systems, Yunwu said to the Vorak. Your energy manipulation can power weapons that will pierce Devourer armor, he said to the Nethrim. Your hive mind coordination can manage fleet movements across the galaxy, he said to the Threx. But only if we work together. Only if we trust each other. Only if we choose to fight as one people instead of 4 separate species. The delegates looked at each other across the chamber. Centuries of independence and pride warred with the growing understanding of what was at stake. Not just their civilizations, but all life in the galaxy. Counselor Jeth 9 was the first to speak. The Vorak will join this alliance. Our crystal technology is at your disposal. Coordinator Plas 9th pulsed with determined blue light. The Nethrim agree. Our energy systems will serve the common defense. High Mind Neth Solon clicked his approval. The Threx will coordinate the fleet movements. Our hive minds are ready. General Inho nodded solemnly. Then we have 6 weeks to prepare for the greatest battle in galactic history. 6 weeks to prove that life is stronger than hunger, that cooperation is stronger than consumption. As the assembly began to break up into planning committees, Captain Deho approached one of the human screens. Dr. So Young, may I ask you something? Of course, Captain. Do you ever regret it, giving up your physical forms, your real lives? So Young was quiet for a long moment. We regret the necessity of it. We regret that it was the only way. But we do not regret the choice itself. Better to exist as patterns of light fighting for life than to not exist at all while life dies around us. And if we win this war, then perhaps someday humans can have bodies again. Perhaps we can walk on, real worlds under real suns. Perhaps we can be more than just guardians in the dark. The war began at the edge of everything. On the frontier worlds where space became empty and cold, the first Devourer ships crossed into inhabited systems. They came like a plague of metal and flesh, their organic hulls pulsing with terrible life. Supreme Coordinator Hansol watched the battle reports from the command center of Unity Station, the massive space platform that had been built in secret over the past month. Around him, beings from 4 different species worked together at control stations that mixed Vorak crystal technology with Nethrim energy systems and Threx coordination networks. First contact confirmed in the Outer Rim, reported Captain Myung-ho, from his ship Unity's Promise, the first vessel built using combined human-alien technology. 17 Devourer ships have entered the Kalar system. On the main screen, they watched the defense begin. Vorak crystal matrices created shimmering barriers around the inhabited worlds. Nethrim energy weapons fired beams of pure destruction at the approaching ships. Threx coordination networks allowed hundreds of defenders to move as one perfectly timed force. But the Devourers were stronger than anyone had expected. The organic ships absorbed the energy weapon fire and converted it into power for their own systems. Their acid blood melted through crystal barriers. Their psychic screams disrupted Threx hive mind communications. They're adapting faster than we anticipated, said Dr. Jiwoo from her research station. Every attack we make teaches them how to defend against it. Hansol nodded grimly. He had expected this. The Devourers had consumed thousands of civilizations. They had learned to counter every possible defense. Begin Phase 2, he ordered. Across the galaxy, the real human fleet revealed itself. Ships that had been hidden in asteroid belts and nebulae, in the dark spaces between systems, suddenly powered up their engines. There were not hundreds of them, as the aliens had been told. There were millions. Every dead world in the galaxy turned out to be a human base. Every abandoned space station was actually a weapons platform. Every piece of space debris larger than a building was a camouflaged human vessel. By the crystal gods, whispered Admiral Boram from her flagship. How many ships do you have? All of them, Hansol replied simply. We've been building for 3 centuries. Every resource in the galaxy that wasn't being used, we took. Every asteroid that wasn't claimed, we hollowed out. Every comet that passed through empty space we converted into a ship. The true scope of human preparation revealed itself as the hidden fleet moved into battle. Ships emerged from gas giant atmospheres where they had been hiding for decades. Weapon platforms rose from the surfaces of moons. Battle stations that had pretended to be research facilities opened fire with weapons that could crack planets. But even this vast armada was not enough. The Devourers kept coming, wave after wave of hungry ships that consumed everything in their path. For every Devourer destroyed, 2 more took its place. They're not just ships, realized Dr. HFY as she studied the enemy formations. They're organisms, living creatures that can reproduce by consuming matter and energy. Then we need to stop feeding them, said Captain Nari from her stealth cruiser. Every ship they destroy makes them stronger. Every world they consume gives them resources to build more vessels. Han Sol studied the battle displays. The combined fleets were holding the line, but barely. The Devourers were learning from every encounter, adapting to every strategy. Soon they would break through the outer defenses and reach the core worlds where billions of people lived. Supreme Coordinator, said a new voice. Captain Dongmin appeared on a communication screen, his face excited despite the desperate situation. My deep space scouts have found something. The Devourers aren't just fleeing toward us, they're fleeing from something behind them. The display showed the space beyond the Devourer fleet. At first there was only darkness, but then the sensors detected something massive moving in the void. Ships, but not like anything they had seen before. These vessels seemed to be made of pure energy, shifting and flowing like living light. Who are they? Asked General Inho. We don't know, Dongmin admitted. But they're following the Devourers, and they're gaining ground. Han Sol made a decision that would change everything. Open a communication channel to the lead Devourer. Ship, full spectrum, all frequencies. Sir? Captain Myung-ho asked in surprise. They've never responded to communication attempts. They've never been offered an alternative before, Han Sol replied. The communication screen flickered and suddenly they were looking into the bridge of a Devourer vessel. It was a nightmare of organic technology and living walls. Creatures that were part machine, part animal worked at stations made of bone and metal. At the center of the bridge stood something that might once have been sentient. It was tall and thin, with too many arms and eyes that glowed with hungry madness. When it spoke, its voice was like the sound of dying worlds. Food things speak to hunters? It said in a mixture of languages it had learned from consumed civilizations. Unusual. Most food things only scream. We're not food, Han Sol said calmly. We're people, just like you used to be. The creature laughed, a sound like breaking glass. We were never like you. We are consumers. We are perfect. No, said Dr. Ji-woo, stepping forward. You're sick. You're infected with something that's made you forget who you really were. She had been studying the Devourer biopatterns for weeks. Now she displayed her findings on the screen. Look at your own genetic code. Underneath all the mutations and adaptations, you still have the basic structure of a dozen different species. You're not natural predators. You're the survivors of consumed civilizations merged together into one organism. The Devourer creature studied the data with its many eyes. For the first time, something like confusion crossed its face. Impossible, it hissed. We have always been. We have always consumed. The energy beings behind you, Dongmin said, showing the pursuing ships. They're not chasing you to destroy you, they're trying to cure you. On the screen, the energy ships were indeed gaining on the Devourer fleet. As they got closer, their purpose became clear. They were not weapons platforms. They were medical vessels trying to heal the infection that had turned the Devourers into consuming monsters. The hunger you feel, Dr. Ji-woo continued, it's not natural. It's a disease, a corruption of your original nature. Your species used to live in symbiosis with other life forms, helping them grow and develop. The infection turned that instinct into destructive consumption. The Devourer creature clutched its head with multiple hands. No, we remember consuming, feeding, growing. Those are false memories created by the infection, Jiwoo said gently. Let us help you remember who you really were. Around the Devourer fleet, the battle was changing. Instead of trying to destroy the organic ships, the combined fleets began using modified Nethrum energy weapons to disrupt the infection patterns Dr. Jiwoo had identified. Vorak crystal technology created healing matrices instead of barriers. Threx coordination networks sent messages of peace instead of battle commands. One by one, Devourer ships began to stop firing. Their organic hulls stopped pulsing with hunger and began to glow with something else. Recognition, memory, hope. The creature on the screen fell to its knees. We were healers. We were gardeners. We helped young species grow and learn. What have we become? You became victims, Hansol said compassionately. But victims can be healed. The energy beings finally reached the fleet. Their ships surrounded the Devourer vessels like gentle hands embracing injured children. Beams of pure healing light flowed between the ships, burning away the infection that had plagued the Devourers for millions of years. As the cure spread through their systems, the Devourer ships began to change. Their ugly, hungry appearance softened. Their weapon systems became tools for construction instead of destruction. Their crews remembered their original purpose, not to consume civilizations, but to nurture them. The infection, the former Devourer, leader said, tears flowing from its many eyes. We carried it across the universe. We destroyed so much, so many beautiful worlds. The destruction is over, said Captain Myung-ho from Unity's Promise. Now we can focus on healing and rebuilding. The energy beings introduced themselves as the Builders, the original species that had created the symbiotic organisms that became the Devourers. They had been chasing their infected children across the universe for eons, trying to find a cure. We never expected to find the cure here, the Builder representative said through waves of pure thought. Your species, all 4 of your species, you created something we could not. You created cooperation across different forms of life. Hansol looked around the command center at Vorak, Nethrim, Threx, and human minds working together. We had good teachers. We learned that survival isn't about being the strongest, it's about lifting each other up. In the days that followed, the galaxy transformed. The former Devourers used their vast ships to begin repairing the worlds they had damaged. The Builders shared technology that could restore life to dead planets. The 4 allied species worked together to heal the scars left by millennia of cosmic warfare. Dr. So-young stood on the observation deck of Unity Station, her holographic form looking out at the stars.